Okay, here we go. It's happening. Our very first podcast episode. We decided that we were going to do a podcast because we're always talking. We're always talking about women and the things that women face and our thoughts on them. So we thought we'd record it so that you lovely people can hear it.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, we should. I'm Amy. I have been a doula, I think 6 years, but I always get that wrong. I am a feminist. I am, always thinking about feminist issues and thinking about ways we can support women with everything that they come up against. I'm very, very happy to have the job that I have and to work with the women that I work with. And here's one of them. It's Ellie.
I'm very disappointed. You never told me you're a feminist. We need to have some words. Okay.
Sounds...
Hello, I'm Ellie. I am also a feminist and I do work at this organisation with Amy. I get to work with women and for women, for our daughters. I am living the dream.
You sound like you're living the dream.
It was about the fact the cat was about to jump up and the fact that the dog is snoring on my knee and I'm uncomfortable. That's what I was upset about. Not my awesome job.
And can you reach your cup of tea? Because that's quite important.
No,
I can reach it for you.
You can't. No, it's okay.
No, like I can stand up to get it. You've got a dog on you. She did it! Success.
I'm so glad it wasn't empty. What if there's been nothing in it after all that?
That would be bad. Okay, we've got our tea.
Mm-hmm.
We're sat comfortably.
Well.
Ish. May's more comfortable than you are.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk. Let's talk about the idea, the narrative that having a healthy baby is all that matters and anything that is done to you in the process is justified.
Well, what constitutes a healthy baby by society's NHS's standards?
Good question. I think as long as you've got a pulse, your baby's got a pulse, that's the bar. The bar is very low. And not just by medical standards, but like societal standards, I think.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be. Because what does it actually mean to be healthy? So much more than that.
The message that as long as your baby survives, it doesn't matter if you've been through hell, as long as your baby survives, I think that is such a damaging message. That's the message that little girls are given. One day you're going to want a baby, and when it's your time, you're expected to go through hell, to sacrifice your health, your sanity, your relationship to your body, your relationship to your partner if you have one, your relationship to the world, your relationship to your womanhood. That doesn't matter, as long as your baby has a pulse. And it also implies that they're going to put your baby through hell as well, because the most important thing is a pulse and not quality of life.
Absolutely. I think it also suggests that what the medical system does is give women healthy babies. That it's all justified because if you weren't there, you wouldn't have that. But there's not a lot of evidence to support that claim.
Well, has a woman ever gone into a hospital pregnant with a baby who doesn't have a heartbeat and come out of hospital with a baby with a heartbeat?
I'd be very surprised.
So every woman who went in that hospital, their baby already had a heartbeat. Every woman who comes out with a baby who has a heartbeat went in there with a baby with a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So what did they give? What did they bring?
Trauma most of the time. Leaving babies traumatised, women traumatised.
Babies can't get traumatised, Amy. That's impossible. They don't remember. They don't have the cognitive function.
Silly babies.
Making such a fuss.
Being stubborn.
Yeah, they get called all sorts of names before they're even born.
They do.
Stubborn, naughty, too big, too small, late.
Mm-hmm. I saw a post on Instagram the other day about how we as a society are always rushing children, rushing them to like learn things, to do things, to leave the house, like to meet some kind of schedule that is not based on children and what they need. And it made me think about how we do that to them before they're even born. with due dates and induction threats and, oh, haven't you got a stubborn baby? They're just too comfortable in there. We need to give them a little nudge. Like, no, let them be born in their own time. The very first, like, instance of just rushing.
Have you ever been too comfortable?
No, there's no such thing. We should all be too comfortable.
The idea that the womb, well, it's not just an idea, it's a fact. The fact that a womb can grow a baby from a dot, and it's the most nourishing experience possible, and then there becomes one day, according to a calendar that the womb can't even see, that it becomes the most inhospitable place. The idea that you can get so comfortable that you will die. Like, what?
Imagine if you curled up on the sofa and someone was like, now be careful. Don't get too comfortable, because you might never be able to move again.
When you lay down, you were incredibly comfortable, but there's going to come a point where it becomes fatal.
Too dangerous. Get up now.
And that comes from somebody who has her best naps in the bath.
Well, yeah, and you're still alive, so can't really argue with it.
Dear listener, she was dead the whole time.
I sue dead people. Okay, back to seriousness.
No. Oh no, I forgot
But
about
it is ridiculous.
the sounds of the sofa.
That's alright. It is ridiculous. It's just another example of blaming and vilifying women's bodies for doing the right thing. Like, if you're growing a baby and that baby is happy and healthy and you're still pregnant, your body's doing all the right things, but your baby is labelled as lazy. Your body is labelled as suddenly dangerous to that baby.
And you're irresponsible.
You're irresponsible, yeah.
Waiting for the baby to come out.
Yeah, for just staying pregnant. And it works. That blame works. Okay, so healthy babies. Or just alive babies, because that's the bar,
That's what it
right?
means. Yeah.
Alive babies. So the idea that you should be grateful for everything you've been through, or been put through, because your baby is alive, insinuates that they gave you that live baby, but also that nothing else matters. You don't matter. There's just so much there. I think it also feeds into that idea that birth is inherently dangerous, and that it's birth, the process of birth, that leads to babies dying, and that as long as you've got someone, a medical professional, to guide you through that process, that makes it somehow less likely. But that's not the case. Babies do die in pregnancy and after birth as well. And that happens for lots of different reasons.
Some babies die when they're old people.
Lots of them, in fact. The majority. They grow old and then they die because...
If they're lucky.
Yeah, because that's life.
A baby who dies at 42 weeks gestation is a tragedy. But a baby who dies at 2 weeks old is a statistic. It's just what happens. Babies die. And we can all be very, very sad about that baby dying at 2 weeks old, as we should be. But there was nothing that could have been done. But if that baby was still inside a woman, it's her fault, having not done something to make the baby be born. Who gets to decide what is healthy? We know women who would not want to put their baby through all of the treatment that is administered for certain illnesses. They just wouldn't want that for their babies. That's seen as irresponsible, because the determinant of health is simply a pulse. We know women who felt very selfish for feeling that way, and we know women who've taken that opportunity for extreme medical support and regretted it. But who gets to decide what healthy is? Who gets to decide where that line is? When do women get to say, I wouldn't want that for my baby? We have do not resuscitate orders for adults, don't we?
Mm.
We accept that we wouldn't want to be alive if we didn't have a quality of life. We're allowed to decide that for our babies. I think we're getting off topic.
No, I don't think so, because I think that is ultimately the idea of a baby dying and the idea that the medical system can somehow prevent that from happening or bring that rate to zero.
Which is where we're at. I mean, that is the focus on maternity care at the moment, as if it's ever been any different, is not women's experiences and women's autonomy. It's, at the moment, it's reducing the stillbirth rate to zero. How is that ever going to be possible? Are we going to bring the death rate of 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 50-year-olds to zero? It's an impossible target because death is unpreventable. It would be really helpful if having a normal birth and women's basic needs being met was the standard, but it's not even considered. So when it's not, how can we even know what the health of a new mum should look like, or the health of a baby? If a baby who's been through a 5-day induction and then a cesarean and then separated from the mum and then not breastfed and being kept away from her smells, away from that bonding time, away from her germs and bacteria, and being poked and prodded, if that is healthy, then are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
Then what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Like, that is healthy. That's well done. You've got a healthy baby and you should be happy and you should be grateful. That's health. Even if the baby's got literal bumps and bruises and scrapes and cuts and a misshapen head and is bleeding and has rashes and grazes all over the face. Just bundle up in his towel, hat on, well done. That was textbook.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. That is what it is in the textbook.
Yeah, that's the standard practice. That's the problem. And with that being standard practice, you can't then see the damage that's being done. We can't see what would have happened if that woman was left alone. I mean, the medical system can't see it. We see it because we've been there. We've seen births where medical professionals would have jumped in and caused harm, separated the mother and the baby, interfered with breastfeeding, brought interventions, and it would have completely changed the health of that baby for the worse. When we're not treating mothers as healthy in the first place. Like, the maternity system treats all pregnant women as if they are ill, in need of managing, measuring, testing. Like, that's the baseline. That's constant interference in a pregnancy. That's just a normal part of life. And then constant interference with birth. And I think women are pushed into using the medical system because of that narrative that we can prevent death and that we should try and prevent all death, even though it's an impossibility. And that idea of losing a child is weaponized, but the medical system aren't looking at the harm that they're causing, the number of babies in the NICU that wouldn't have been there, wouldn't be in that state had pregnancy been able to continue until its natural end and birth allowed to happen in its own time at home. Like, you can't see the result of that when something different has happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that better.
It's really easy to see. Well, it's really easy for people to point the finger and say, if you had medical interventions, things would be better. But nobody ever looks at that baby that I just described and points the finger and says, why on earth did you go to hospital and let this happen?
So much of it is about covering their backs as well, though, isn't it? Like, maybe all of it. But women who have been told by medical professionals that there is a high chance that their baby will die, will not make it, are still put through hell during labour to no end. It doesn't change the outcome, but it adds a whole load of trauma that doesn't need to happen. That's unforgivable.
I will never forgive the maternity system for the harm that it causes.
It's too big and it's ongoing. How do you come back from something that's so ingrained, so commonplace? Like, is there a way to reach women to restore the trust in intuition and in women's bodies and in the process of birth, when we live in a society that encourages women to hand that over and just accept whatever harm comes their way.
I mean, there was a time when all the forms of violence against women and girls were acceptable and encouraged. And I have to believe that there's an end in sight for this one. I don't think we're going to see it. And I don't think our kids are going to see it. Because it's too invisible. It's so ingrained at the moment. It's so confronting because everyone has an experience of it. And it's so hard to hear another woman's experience and to say, and to even think, that didn't need to happen to you. You were traumatised for no reason. You went in there with a healthy baby and you got out with a healthy baby by the skin of your teeth. And it took you such a long time to recover. Nobody can look at that and see where the unnecessary interventions begun. Because they begun, I believe that those interventions begun before she was even pregnant. Because an unnecessary intervention is one that you don't need or want. And most women want an unmedicalised birth. So why do most women use the medical system? I think it's unreasonable to think that the medical system won't be medical. But I think we're groomed into it from a young age. So I feel like it's a catch-22 because we need a generation where girls and boys are growing up knowing their autonomy and their agency and thinking about what they really want for themselves. And then the girls who go on to decide to be mothers will take that mindset into their maternity care, however that might look. But in order for that to happen, their mums need to do it. So I don't know if I have any hope about that. I do have hope on a one-to-one scale because that's what we see happening. That is what happens the majority of the time with women who we work with. And we get to see that difference. We get to watch those kids grow up. So I know that it's possible because they're changing normal for their families and to some extent their friends, because they can see that another world is possible. But until we start seeing TV shows where a woman is pregnant and she's just living her life, and at the end of the episode it doesn't turn into some plot device to create drama and an emergency, until we start seeing that, until the world of pornography is dismantled and we stop seeing women as body parts, then I think the cervix is always going to be seen as central and acting alone in a vacuum in birth, because it's all about that cervix and what that cervix is doing, not the fact that there is a woman surrounding it, not the fact that every process in a woman's body plays into what that cervix does, and that every process in the human body is affected by how that woman feels. We're not seeing women as whole people. We're seeing them as baby carriers. We're seeing them as walking services.
Womb havers.
Yeah. Until we see an end to that, then it's just going to carry on and carry on and carry on. That's not even what I meant to say. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Well, that's the joy of just having a chat.
And being able to edit it. An editable chat.
Yeah, better than a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. All of that is crucial to shifting the narrative. And I think you're right. It's very much about individual women doing what feels natural and normal, intuitive. Yeah, like these are the things that we hear women talking themselves into medical appointments and into inviting a midwife or going into hospital. Like, because the default is not to. The default is it's normal bodily function, and I feel comfortable performing all my bodily functions at home where I know my surroundings and I know I can lock the door and I get to decide who comes in. Like, that instinctively is the answer, but then there's so many societal expectations at play, and like you said, like objectifying, minimizing women to body parts, and it leaves the woman and her experience at the bottom of the pile. Women's experiences of birth are put at the bottom of the pile, and actually they're central, because that, like you said, it filters out filters out? No.
Ripple over?
Ripples. It ripples to their children and their families and their friends and their communities, and it's like rebuilding the village from scratch, which sounds like a big job.
But easier than changing the maternity system.
A hell of a lot easier. Oh yeah, trying to change the maternity system. Well, it's not going to work because it's a medical system and it is acting in a medical capacity. But it's applying that to things that are not medical. So the only way to not do that is to not engage with it. Unless you have a medical issue, of which you would know.
Like we do when we're not pregnant.
Yeah, like when we go to the dentist.
Well, I go to the dentist because I get a letter.
Well, that's...
I'm one of the few that still has an NHS dentist.
Well, there we go. Maybe if you got letters to go to midwifery appointments, you'd just go.
Well, we kind of do. That's kind of how it works,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I mean, that is what happens.
You're pregnant, so you must go and see the midwife. What's
Yeah.
your appointment for? I don't know.
I don't know, they just made it for me.
But I've got questions.
You've got questions.
No, I mean, women go with
Oh,
questions
yeah.
and hopes and fears and expectations.
And
then
wanting to talk about their birth plans. Which is then, nah.
We'll see.
Well, it's too soon. Too soon to talk about that. Someone actually did comment on one of our posts saying that she'd literally just been told that by a midwife. It's too soon to talk about birth. Like, what's the purpose of being there then? Like, we know that that's not the purpose, but they present themselves as that, so they're misselling, I would say, to some degree.
The greatest lie ever sold. What were the other questions you had? Because I feel like we're still...
We're trying to talk about everything we want to talk about in one go.
It's impossible.
But we will record more, and this will be regular. And one topic I would like to talk about is loss.
Let's do it.
Not right now.
I don't mean to sound so enthusiastic about that, but I am.
But it's important because I think it's so... Alright, we'll save this. Save that for
We'll
another
save
time.
it, save it.
Little teaser for you
Keep
there. You matter too. Are you healthy right now? That's a question. You know, if you're coming out of a birth experience where you've been put through an induction, or even just, and I say just lightly because actually it's very important, but you've gone into hospital and you've given birth there in an environment that is not your own. You maybe didn't know if you could move, get off the bed, go to the toilet, like...
Eat and drink.
Yeah,
Sleep.
in some way you felt restrained. And maybe you were physically as well. You come out of that and people around you are telling you that, at least you've got a healthy baby. So we've talked about how, well, that's not true most of the time. The babies are not healthy when they come out of that kind of birth. They're alive, maybe, but that's not the same. But then women say it about themselves too. That bar for women being healthy is also as long as you've got a pulse. And they're just not. You can't be healthy and traumatised at the same time. Trauma is not a normal part of birth. It's not inherently traumatic. And we're not designed to come out of birth feeling traumatised. So I can't... You can't be healthy when you've been through that. I mean, it's a good mask to not have to talk about what's happened, and I can understand that, because it's hard, but if you've been put through abuse and torture, you're not healthy at the end of it. And that matters.
I agree. But sometimes that's all women have to cling to, and that is what makes it so sad. Women are made to feel grateful for that. If you look at the individual interventions and how the woman was made to feel, it is torture. Having food and drink withheld being sleep deprived intentionally. Just go for a walk around the hospital. You've got to get up. You've got to keep doing stuff. You've got to keep this labour going. Now you can't go to sleep, things will stall. Now you can't get in the pool, things will stall. If you take that out of the birth room, what you're describing is torture. And we expect women to be okay after that. What message does that give them to take into their motherhood, into the new chapter of their lives? What do they then tell themselves about what their worth is? What do they then tell other women about what their worth is? About what it means to be a mother? It keeps just selling that tired message that being a mother is just constantly giving. When you don't think you've got any more to give, you still have to find more. Like, you can never give enough. Your needs have to always come dead last, which means that no one get around to them at all, because the needs of the newborn is so much. The needs of the partner can be really magnified at this time. We can talk about that another day. The needs of the other family and how they're going to feel about their mothering choices, everything else. And rest comes. Rest is such a big one, and it's right there at the bottom. Anyway, I can't remember what the question was.
Are women healthy when they come out of that?
Oh.
And what does healthy look like? Because we do see that outside of the medical system.
That's true. If you look at the pictures that we've taken of women who've just given birth or who are giving birth, and they just look like goddesses, and they just look happy and shining, and like they just got off a roller coaster, but in a good way.
That's such a good way to describe it. And it's not because there's twinkly lights around. It's them. You know, it's incredible to see. But it also makes perfect sense. Like, to start motherhood in that way, feeling competent, confident, like strong, and like you could do anything. Like, surely that is how we're supposed to feel just after we've given birth. Not what we see in the medical setting or at home, even with a midwife, where women are exhausted because, like Ellie said, the sleep deprivation that comes with the constant pressure, time limits and all of that. They're exhausted, they feel like they couldn't have done it without the medical professional present. There's just so much to untangle there, and it's such a hard starting point. Like, it's not supposed to be that hard.
But then when you find it hard personally, there's something wrong with you, because everyone else is doing it. Everyone else uses the medical system, everyone else had their baby in hospital. So why are you finding it so hard? What is so wrong with you that you're struggling with this? Because you got a healthy baby, not everyone gets one of those.
Yeah. And that's where the, like, brush it off and don't deal with it right now and get out the house, like, you know, make sure everyone can see that you're fine. Like, all of that comes from the trauma, trying to be a mother to a brand new baby whilst also not being okay. But when we see women give birth in their own time, in their homes, in their power, they just know. Like, they rest when they need to rest during labour. They move when they need to move. They know that their baby's okay because no one around them is doubting their intuition and their connection. and they can feel it. So they're not surprised or relieved when their baby comes out alive, because they're already connected, they already know that. That's very different to when you see it in the medical setting. There is huge amounts of relief and surprise that their baby is okay, because everyone around them is telling them that their baby might not be okay.
They also do the other thing where they tell you that just because your baby's heart rate is fine according to their standards, that you're okay. Whereas all the alarm bells in the world are going off in your head, going, I don't want to be here. I don't like how this person is talking to me. I don't like the smells here. I don't feel safe. All these alarm bells are ringing and someone's telling you that you are okay. How much does that mess with someone's head to be told they're okay when they know that they are not?
Why is the medical system making women feel like her and or her baby are like minutes away from death?
Because if the whole premise is that birth is risky and dangerous and unpredictable and painful, and that it's can only be done under direct medical supervision, because the premise is that it is scary, that's how they get a role in it. Because if birth isn't unpredictable and scary, if birth isn't a medical event, then they have no place. So they have to prey on the premise that it's all of those things, and that when you survive it, you should be grateful to the medical profession for you having survived it. Because if the premise is that birth is a bodily function, I just had a bowl of mac and cheese before. I'm not congratulating myself for surviving that, although it was a horrible bowl of mac and cheese. I do have regrets about how I made it. I'm not congratulating myself. I don't give Amy a high five when she comes out the bathroom. I'm like, yeah, you did it.
Could you?
Yeah, all right, we can make that happen. But that it's based on the whole premise that it is you're seconds away from death the whole time. So you should just be grateful to survive it, with their help, of course.
Mm.
And what did we do before babies were delivered?
It's just bonkers, isn't it?
The whole thing is bonkers.
The whole thing is bonkers.
And that's why it's hard to put a finger on just how bonkers it is. It's hard to conceptualise just how bonkers it is, because the entire premise is wrong.
Mm. I think it's why we get so off course, because everything...
Like, where to start?
Yeah, like, how do you address such a big issue?
And everyone's in on it.
Yeah.
Everyone is in on it.
Yeah, and everyone has either a direct or indirect experience of it, so it's really hard to challenge. But, I mean, a good place to start challenging that is when you do hear traumatic birth stories. Think about the medical involvement in that and the impact of that.
And how you speak to that woman. Don't say anything that starts with "at least."
Yeah. Don't tell her that, well, at least you've got a healthy baby, or, yeah, birth is awful, isn't it? Like...
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah. Don't lower the bar to that.
Don't normalise it.
Raise the bar. Like, that bar is, whatever they did to you is justified, and they didn't kill your baby in the process. Like, that's it. That's the bar. That's a terrible bar, and we should be raising it. I think so many women are told scary birth stories, aren't they? Like, especially if you're pregnant. But the questions I always want to ask, and it doesn't always feel appropriate to ask, but the ones I always want to ask are, were you in hospital? And what did they do to you? Was it necessary? Like, what would have happened if you were at home? And the narrative is often, that the outcome or whatever unfolded would have been the same but more dangerous at home. But that doesn't take into account what caused whatever happened. I think hemorrhages are a really good example of that. Because if a woman has a hemorrhage in hospital, she imagines, or she's told, that if she'd been at home and had the same hemorrhage, she could have died. But what they're not taking into consideration is that if she had been at home, she wouldn't have had that hemorrhage in the first place. So therefore she wouldn't have needed any medical attention, and she wouldn't have nearly died. But it's very difficult to challenge that, particularly in personal experiences.
Mm.
Because it's a lot to process, and it's a lot to question.
And the same goes for the baby as well. So when the baby's born in hospital, because of whatever reason, it's essential, and that baby's cord is cut immediately after birth, and that baby therefore loses 30% of its blood volume, then that baby is poorly and unwell. So they give that baby lots of care and attention on a different ward, and say, thank goodness we were in hospital. If we hadn't been in hospital, how could my baby have got that help?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you gave that baby a hemorrhage.
Somebody did.
Yeah, not the woman.
Yeah.
Somebody made your baby hemorrhage deliberately. They got a pair of scissors and they gave your baby a hemorrhage.
No wonder they need medical attention after that.
Well, they're in the right place for it.
Mm.
We still haven't figured out how to finish it.
Felt like we were kind of lifting up a little bit, but it's just such a big topic. And I guess maybe the bit of hope that we touched on was that women are giving birth in their own power. Some women, they are taking radical responsibility for decisions that they make in pregnancy and birth, and they're doing what's right for them regardless of what anyone else is throwing at them. And those women are healthy. They're coming out of birth healthy, physically, mentally, and with their babies. And we are going to talk about loss at some point. And I think that we've touched on it a lot already, is that babies do die, and they do die at home, and they do die in hospital. So I'm not saying that all free births end with a live baby, but those experiences are completely different when they're at home, where the woman is safe and held, and when it happens in hospital. They're totally different experiences. That wasn't a happy note to end on.
I've got one.
Go on.
We don't need to dismantle the maternity system, and we don't need to build something that's better. We already have something that is better, because women have been doing this for tens of thousands of years. It's only in the last 3 generations that hospitals have become so very popular. And anyone can do it. It doesn't matter if it's your first baby or your 10th baby. It doesn't matter if you're an octo-mom or putting her to shame by having twice as many. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need any materials. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a special house. The fact that it's your house is what makes it special. Everything that you need is here. Everything that you use to manage your own bodily functions are already here. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to invite anyone. You don't have to see anyone you don't want to see. And you make the rules because it's your house and it's your special day. So you get to get people to do whatever you want if you want people around. There is no bar for you being jumping through any hoops. You don't have to be a certain height or weight, or there are no rules. If you want to do it, you can. It's accessible for everyone. You might just need some support to do it, because it means going against everything that anyone's ever told you. So it's the easiest thing, it's the hardest thing, but it's accessible to everyone. It's a service that will never be suspended
Fantastic. Alright, that was pretty heavy. I think all of our...
They're all going to be heavy.
They're all going to be heavy because it's
Yeah.
the truth. And the truth is...
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. But that was a wonderful note to end on. And if anyone does need or want support or want to explore what pregnancy might look like outside of the medical system, we're here and we're listening, and you can contact us on our email, which is hello@greatermanchesterdoulas.com, or through our website, which is greatermanchesterdoulas.com. That's it.
Yeah, what Amy said.
We did it.
Yeah, we did.
Bye.